Welcome, everyone. Just to make sure I value your time and you get everything that you need from this webinar, I would like to tell you what's going to happen at the end. So, as a thank you for your presence in this webinar, I will offer you a prize. The prize will be an access to one of the constellation workshops, and that's going to happen at the end. I will also share what other materials and meditations are available. And before I do that, I would like to share a little bit of my personal story, how I came across family constellations, what impact it played on me, and what other modalities I'm familiar with that I will be sharing. You can ask me questions. So if I have your permission to ask a little bit to share a little bit about myself, I'm going to start now. Do I have your permission to share? Thank you very much. All right. So I want to share a little bit of my ancestry. I was born in a country that no longer exists. It's country USSR. When I was about 6 years old, the country collapsed into what probably fair to say is a chaos. We call it the law of the jungle, the strongest survives. As a child, I couldn't really comprehend all the complications and terror and fears that my parents probably went through in the generation before me. However, as a child of that environment, I felt the fear tangibly, and the way it expressed itself was through psoriasis on my skin. It's if you don't, it's a really heavy rush. That's pretty much untreatable right now. I also had kidney stones, and I went through a pretty hard depression through my teenage years. At the age of about 10, I started experiencing very strong flashes of aggression, which led to fights at school. I was suspended for fighting with the boys. I also started using alcohol at the age of about 13, and I used it to numb myself through the teenage years. When I was about 22, I had an opportunity to run away with my childhood friend, and I left the country and I crossed the ocean and I went to the US. And in the United States, I found independence. And through my 20s, I was building career. I went from one job to another. I started a small business, and I found myself as a top manager in an investment company by the age of about 30s. And I shifted to the tech startup industry and took a position of a marketing director in a tech startup that was based in Australia. And I flew to Melbourne to meet my new team. And as I was walking down the streets of Melbourne, I realized that, interestingly enough, in my early 30s, I pretty much have everything I wanted at the time. I had a romantic relationship. I was pursuing the career I really enjoyed. I loved traveling. And the very surprising thought came to my mind. The thought was, I feel nothing. Not only I don't feel happy, it's really hard for me to say why, but I felt numb. I did not enjoy life as I thought I would be, achieving everything that I achieved. And that thought shocked me to the degree that I started my journey on figuring out what's going on. Why am I not feeling? Why am I not happy? Why am I not joyful? Why am I not receiving all the abundance that the life is offering? On the journey, I started pursuing all the spiritual teachings there are. So I sat with the medicine in Mexico, Argentina, in the native land of US and Canada. I tried pretty much every shamanic journey there is. I went through hundreds of shamanic journeys. I tried almost any psychedelic and any medicine there was. And it's been years and years and I had some success, and I definitely went in my up downs. But a few years after that, I hit a very heavy depression that I could not get myself out of. And along with the depression came a very heavy addiction. at some point, my family was so concerned about me that they didn't know what to do. And to get myself out of the depression, my partner and I went to Thailand. In Thailand, there's an island called Koh Pao. On that island, I took on retreat to study yoga. I got trained in advanced yoga practices. And at the same time, I went through a very deep cleansing. Um, at the retreat, I met an Italian practitioner named Marco, who introduced me to the modality of family constellations. He spent 2 hours with me. He used pillows to represent my family members. And when I left his session 2 hours later, I could not speak. I didn't know what happened, but I knew that what happened during that was so profound for me. What was uncovered is that what I was carrying is the shadow of the war that my parents and grandparents and the ancestors before them experienced on their skin. I had no idea it can play such an important role in our life. It was a profound insight. And from that moment, I dedicated my time and my life's purpose to knowing everything there is about this modality and sharing that knowledge with the world. So for 2 years after that, I moved to Hawaii and I spent 2 years in the paradise. And I was studying and practicing with the local practitioner. I also joined the 2 years program with one of the direct students of the founder of this work, Bert Hellinger, and the founder of the Hellinger Institute of Canada, Marina Toledo. And what I'm sharing today is the collective knowledge that I'm trying to summarize and put together into very simple illustrated guidebook of the common dynamics that hopefully will give you insight on what might have happened in your ancestry before you that impacts your life right now. I will also share the tools that I've been taught and practiced on what you can do to address those dynamics. So that's a little bit about me. And to help you serve your purpose in this webinar, I would like to ask you, what are you looking to get out of this 1 hour with me? If you can put it in the chat, this is the outcome you're looking for. This is what you're here for. I would love to read it. And I would love to take a couple shares as well. If you're open to sharing with the group, what are you here for? Do I have any volunteers? What are you looking to learn from this webinar? Hi, Mirat. Yes, please.
Well, first, I want to say thank you for sharing your story. It's very touching and inspiring. So I'm curious, I'm eager to learn more about your sharing, the tools, and all of that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I seek to learn other people's experiences, meeting other constellators. Thank you. I'll take one more share if you would like to speak up. Please, Sonia.
The family dynamics, those the topic of the call that drew me here was the family dynamics, how that could be affecting our life today.
Yes, perfect. You're in a perfect place for that. Thank you. I see also release the survival mode. Yes, I can definitely relate to that. All right, so let's dive in. I'm gonna put on my presentation and please let me know when you see it. All right, we'll do present. all the way to the top. So hidden family dynamics, like Sonia mentioned, that's what we're talking about today. And those are dynamics I will be covering. So this division into three groups is pretty subjective, but I decided to help us simplify that. And what we're going to be talking about: missing or lack of parent, absent parent, parent who is there but not really emotionally available, parent who's been traumatized. Also, a very important part of this, a missing permission to receive. Receive the parent or an ancestor who was excluded from the family or potentially rejected by the family. We're also going to cover a little bit about the ancestral entanglement when we are too close or too far from the parent, as well as the victim-perpetrator dynamic. All right? So, as I mentioned, direct ancestral trauma is the trauma that we receive directly from our parents. And a very important movement is initiation to the world. I want to spend a little bit more time on this movement. Let me just make sure I admit everybody in. All right. So it's been observed in the field. And when the child is born, during the first 7 years of development, mother plays critical, essential role. When mother is available, emotionally, physically, when mother is there to meet the needs of a child, the feeling that we receive inside is the world is a safe place. If you remember that famous Einstein quote, a person needs to make one decision in life if the world is hostile or friendly. That's the movement towards the mother. When I'm open and the mother is open to me, the movement is complete. At that point, I'm open to receiving life. I'm open to seeing world as the resource. I receive abundance in the world. It is also said that money, life, and mother are the same energy. We have the feeling of being at home and belonging to the world when we have no problems receiving and exchanging energy with the mother. At the age of around 7 years old, there is a movement from the mother towards the father. So we're going from the field of influence of the mother to the field of influence of the father. When we received all the feminine that is available to us through the mother, we receive the masculine line of the energies through the father. That energy gives us strength. It's our ability to make decisions. It's our ability to say no to the world when we are setting our own boundaries. From the mother, we received our yes. Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm available. From the father, we received the strength to say, no, that's not for me. So now, by the age of 14, we are more capable of saying, not only the world is safe, also I am safe to express. I am safe to be who I am. And with that movement, openly, we're going into the world. Of course, it is said that 99%, and maybe there is one, but I never met them, who don't have the ancestral trauma, but most of us do. And if you're here, you probably experience some kind of degree of there's some kind of interrupted movement. So one more very important movement is the arrow that signifies permission to receive. We'll talk a little bit more about it after we cover the hidden dynamics, but this missing part is going from the mother to the father requires subconscious open permission from the mother to receive the father. So that's the main movement we're going to cover in the direct ancestral trauma or direct ancestral movement. Again, the movement is I was born, the mother is there for me, mother is the world, mother is everything for me. I receive the world through the lenses of the mother. Then I move from the field of influence the mother towards the father at that point of the age of 7 to 14, and think about your past. What did you experience in that age? At that age, we are in the field of influence of the father. Relationship with the father is very important at this stage. Around 14, for some it's a little older, we're going into the world. So if we have any incomplete movement from the mother or from the father's side, we take that incompletion with us into the world. And instead of receiving the world as an independent, sovereign being, fully adult, we carry the field of the mother and the field of the father with us. We may be looking at the world through the eyes of the mother instead of having our own center, our own independent alignment. So let's look at it one by one. I'm going to go to this slide a little later. Right now, I want to talk what happens when the mother is unavailable. When, as a child, we go and ask for mother's love, and mother is not there, physically or emotionally. At some point, the child makes a decision. I'm not lovable. The world is not safe. That decision may be then moving to subconscious. And while we move on with our life, that belief, that setting stays in. And we continue living with the idea that the world is not safe. There are many reasons why the mother may not be available. Some of them may be physical. In many cultures, the child is taken away from the mother as soon as the child is born, and she doesn't have access to that. That is critical for development. Mother may also be sick. The child may be sick. Maybe it needs some extra medical attention. Mother may be traumatized. She may experience trauma in her life or inherited trauma from previous generations. She may be there physically but not available emotionally. All of that may lead to interrupted or incomplete soul movement. The same may happen in situation with the father. When the child notices mother is not available and may turn to the father for love and attention. It's important to notice the dynamic between the mother and the father. As we know, we usually attract what we are. So if the mother wasn't available, there's a pretty high chance that the father is also to some degree unavailable. So here the interrupted movement may happen to both sides, and that the child may subconsciously make a decision, something is wrong, I'm not okay. I'm not okay in this world. I need some kind of survival strategy. I need protection. And there are different decisions that may be made at that point. Never will I ever experience the pain of abandonment. So I will never open myself to loving fully. Never will I ever be alone again. So life is unavailable. I will always protect myself. Think about what decision might have been made in your head back in the childhood that was a result of this and led to you living life from the strategy of survival. Now I'm gonna go back one slide and offer what is the practice you can do to help yourself feel that moment. Among very useful practices that family constellation offers is a footstep practice. Please let me know in the chat if you do know what footsteps are. Say yes. All right. So we do familiar and just really quickly cover what the footsteps are. So footsteps is literally stepping onto the energy of that we are representing. For example, you can take pieces of paper and simply write down mom, mother, whatever you call her, right? Whatever you used to call her, and put it on the floor and you step onto that piece of paper. That means that you allow yourself and you give your body permission to step into the energy, into the soul energy of your mother. The work we are doing is a soul work. We are not doing the constellation right now, but when we do, we represent the energies of the soul. Family constellations are also called the psychology of the soul. We are receiving the soul truth. So footsteps, a movement into the world, has the same dynamic as we just looked into. So you take a piece of paper for yourself and you put me, then you take another piece of paper for your mother and you put your mother, another for the father, and the fourth one for the world. And as you step into this piece of paper, you feel into the soul of you. There are multiple practices I will also offer how to open yourself up to receiving this energy. That is not channeling. We are not channeling the energy. We are simply giving permission. As you experience, they're very interconnected. And just that permission is enough. I shared before that I used all kinds of shamanic journeys and their rituals and their sage, and there may be some dancing that get you into that stage. In family constellation, none of that is required. You may use that as a practice if you're familiar to it. If this is your spiritual practice, you're welcome to sage yourself or give yourself some kind of okay to the body, but it's not necessary. All we required is to give our mental permission to step into the energy. For some of us, it takes a little longer. So give yourself 2-3 minutes and feel, how does it feel in your body? This is a body receiving practice. So you may notice that your shoulder may be curving and you feel the weight. Maybe you're looking down. Maybe you're looking far away. Maybe you're experiencing buzzing through your body. That's what we're looking, the body reactions, what we're looking for. So if you decide to do this practice, I invite you to have 4 pieces of paper for you, mother, father, and the world, and moving in this direction. You step on yourself, receive what's there. After that, you also may take a minute to reflect in writing and journal. This is what I'm experiencing right now. Then you move on the piece of paper of your mom, give yourself a few minutes, and receive what's there. You may also turn around to your child and feel the connection, what I'm feeling towards my child. Then turn towards the father, co-parent. It doesn't matter if he or she are alive or not. We are working with the energy. We're working in the quantum field. The time is irrelevant at this point. So you turn towards your co-parent, the father of your child, and you receive what are you experiencing in your body. Take a few minutes, write down on a piece of paper, what is it I'm receiving, the insights, then move towards the energy of the father, step to the father, and then receive that. And then from that point, move towards the energy of the world and receive what you're experiencing in your body as contraction or expansion. You might have received the emails from me already. In one of the newsletters I mentioned, Bert Hellinger, the founder of this work, the founder of Systemic Family Constellation, mentioned there are only 2 soul movements. Ones that create expansion in your body and those that create contraction. So when we are looking with the trauma that might have caused the survival mode, what we're looking for is contraction in the body. Where, at which point, at which movement, my body is contracting. And if you're also very in tune with your body, feel at which part of my body is contracting. Then the somatic healing would be to work specifically with that part. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one. Well, one more practice I would like to offer here. So we talked about practice of going from the mother towards the father. Another suggestion for the footstep practice here is go through the stages of life. As I mentioned before, the first stage of life, 0 to 7, if you use spiritual path you want to do before birth, so from conception to birth, you can do that as well. Usually we recommend 0 to 7. You create that piece of paper, step on this piece of paper and receive what is your being experiencing from 0 to 7. You take a minute to reflect and journal about it. Then you step on the next paper, and the next paper is 7 to 14. That's the period of life when you are under the influence of the Father. Step onto this paper and experience what you are feeling in your body from 7 to 14. The papers after that are 20s, and you can do 14 to 20 as separate, then 20s, then 30s, then 40s, and if you are older, you can do 50s, 60s, whatever is right. Step on it, give yourself a few minutes to receive in your body, reflect. Step on the next stage, let yourself receive, reflect. I'm going to pause just for a second to give us a second to ask questions. Do we have any questions right now? Please raise your computer hand so I can see you in the front of the screen. Good, everything is clear? All right, we're going to go to the next movement. So, covered in complete soul movement. And as I mentioned, it's usually mirrored, not always, but it's usually mirrored between mother and the father. Also to the question of who do I need to work with first, mother or the father? We usually work with the most active dynamics. For example, if what you're experiencing is some contraction in your relationship with money, that you may want to work with the mother. But since it's all mirrored, most likely you will find something working with the father energy as well. There's no right order. Whatever is active and more present in your life right now, that's what you want to work with. All right. So if in your life you're experiencing some issue and you kind of already know it, there's something about my mom, there's something that I'm experiencing in my life that I know I'm repeating it. I spend so much energy on not being like my mom, but I'm finding myself in this repetitive pattern again. I'm choosing the same unavailable people again. I'm doing the same project again that's not fulfilling and it's not aligned with my true self. What you may find very useful is an exercise of making step towards the mother. This is not a footstep practice. We actually ask a person, preferably not related to us, not the partner, not the very close friend, somebody who is maybe acquaintance and maybe some friend you don't really share every single secret with. They don't really know your story. You ask them to stand about 10 steps away from you, and you make a slow movement towards them. Why are we doing it? Every step that we make towards mom, when there's interrupted soul movement, usually brings us emotional insight. And that is what we're looking for. How easy it is to step towards mom. Are we looking forward to it? Or notice also if you're rushing through it. If you kind of running towards her, of course, she's the best one. She's always been there. I'm going to take care of her all the time, anytime. This is the moment. What we are looking for is stable movement towards mom without rushing. I'm there. I'm feeling everything that's there. Of course, it's not just positive, it's not just rainbows and butterflies, right? We always feel a little bit of something that's maybe craving, maybe the need, maybe desire, maybe something we forbid ourselves, we didn't allow ourselves to feel. Those insights may come up as you make one step after another towards mom. I also want to mention here that movement towards the mother and the father is not something we do once. It's a life journey. And the more we're able to open ourselves towards that movement, the more we're able to open ourselves to receiving life, abundance, and joy in our life. And that is ultimately what we're looking for, right? The life energy to do the projects that we want to do them in alignment with what we internally perceive is the right thing for us to do. Now, another possible hidden dynamic that is common with the mother and the father is projecting parent. That is usually visible when there is a favorite child in the family. For example, if you were the favorite child, you might have noticed how one of the parents is really favoring you, how they're really cherishing you. But at the same time, what you might have noticed the weight of that adoration. And that weight may be associated with when we as parents see a favorite one, we usually don't really see that child. We see a projection. In my personal story, I shared that I moved away from my parents as soon as I thought I had a chance. What I found common is both of my parents moved away from their parents. So it's kind of interesting pattern to notice. Is it something I did on my own, or is it something I'm repeating in my family? I can also share that I was the favorite child of my father. What I later realized that what he saw in me is his motherland. He projected this missing feeling of that place of birth that he cherished so much that he moved away from, that I was allowed to do almost anything. But I later realized that he doesn't really see me in that feeling that was hindering in the back of my mind. Why don't you see me? Why don't you able to see the greatness of me? I don't know who you're seeing in this. But that's one of the projections. Another projection that might have happened, that your parents might have had the first love. They did not get to completion. They did not get to be with that person. Instead, they were with the co-parent that you were born with. But that feeling, that craving, that missing something did not go away. And that is now projected onto the child. What happens when we project is that me and you may be merged. I'm now looking at the world through my mother's eyes. My mother might have decided at some point earlier that men are not trustworthy, that the men are not reliable. And while I'm trying to get into a relationship with a man believing that I deserve love, I deserve to be loved and give love, in the back end, I have this subconscious belief on my mom. Men are not trustworthy. They're not reliable. So there's no space for me to have and attract the man that is trustworthy and reliable. And I keep proving to myself by attracting men who are not available that see, men are really not trustworthy, not reliable. Well, in reality, it's me who is not available to that. We usually say if we keep attracting unavailable people, I'm the one who's unavailable. Through the family constellation work, we're trying to see what happened that made me unavailable. So the healing statements in this may work as me for me, you for you, or Mom, I'm just like you in this. Healing statements is something we use in family constellations for multiple reasons. One of them, and the first one, is to state what is. I want connection. I want your love. Even though I'm not ready to love, I want to connect. The healing statement may also sound as I'm angry at you. Not all healing statements try to cover and bring together. In some situations, especially in this case, some separation is required for the healing to start happening. We don't always go towards the mom. Sometimes we need to create space from the mom so we can feel into and be in the center of a personal sovereign being. The healing statements, yeah. They may also be called the resonance statements. I'm answering the question that Natasha posted in the chat. On the healing sentences. That's what we use in this modality. It's also used in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. It's something that allows the body to receive the healing. Once that statement is pronounced, there's emotional reaction, there's a resonance that happens. And giving space for that emotion to be felt in the body is what allows the healing to happen. Thank you for asking. All right. So the next dynamic I want to mention here is bigger than the parent. This dynamic is especially hidden because sometimes it may be expressed in, I love my parents so much. They're the best people. They're absolutely, I just want to give them everything. Sometimes it may sound as, Mom, that wasn't there for you, so I will. We are stepping into, in the previous entanglement, we call it entanglement between the members of the family. We were merged with the mother or merged with the father. I'm looking at the world through them. I'm at the same level. In family constellations, the order is very important. In the family, the parents are before the children. They're bigger energies. Why? Because the security of the parents defines security of the child. The child feels safe when the parents have a healthy bond. When the bond is violated and one of the parents feel like pulling more and saying something like, I'm the one for you, take from me, don't take from the other one. That creates insecurity for the child. It creates the conflict. Children on a soul level are unconditionally loyal to their parents. And that loyalty cannot be broken even if one of the parents denies the other one, rejects the other one. The child will subconsciously still keep being loyal to the parent, will create another way, a destructive way to express that loyalty. In this situation, when I feel bigger than a parent, I am stepping into the energy of a grandparents. Remember, if parents are bigger than children, then the grandparents are bigger than parents, right? So every previous generation is bigger energy than the next one. And that's the law of the love that was law of love that was mentioned by Bert Hellinger. Love flows forward. Love has order. Everything and everybody included in love, everybody included in the family system. Every event is included and it has its own place. And the place is predefined. The children are on the level of the children. The parents on the level of the parents. The grandparents on the level of the grandparents. So we go a little bit backwards, right? Children, parents, grandparents, ancestors. And the love flows from them towards us. I'll talk a little bit more about all-inclusiveness. Those are the main three orders that we have in family constellations. Everything and everybody is included. Love flows forward, and there's a balance of giving and receiving. So when I experienced in myself as I want to heal my parents, I feel like I took on some journey and I healed some elements in me. And now I'm looking back and thinking, my dad is gaining weight. I need to make sure, take care of him. I'm going to be there for him all the time. I'm no longer acting as a child. I'm acting as a bigger grandparent. And I usually transfer it onto life. Think if you notice how you may be going into life and taking on the project thinking that I will heal, fix, help other people, and I will help heal as many as possible. And it's my responsibility, like I'm capable of it, that's why I'm gonna do that. I will help everybody. And often we do too much. We exhaust ourselves by trying to give so much, forgetting about me, self-sacrifice. This self-sacrifice is a result of blind love. If you are trying to save people around you, most likely what you're feeling is you failed to save somebody in your family. There's somebody you were desperately trying to save and you couldn't. And usually it's one of the parents. Now let's go to the next dynamic. Again, I want to mention that the same works as a mirror on the other side. Sometimes we want to save our parents. For example, we want to save my dad from smoking. Right? We do everything possible to help him get rid of it, even though he never asked for it, even though it doesn't bother him. But there is a desire inside of me to do that for him. Notice within you if you have this tendency for self-sacrifice. The healing statement in this case could be, I honor the greatness of your soul. The movement we're trying to go into with this is, I have my own choices. I honor what happened before me, the entanglements in my system, everything that happened, everything that caused any kind of pain. And I'm free to make my own choices. Even though my whole family, or maybe my whole dad side of the family, struggle with addictions, I have my own choices. I honor their choices. I'm not trying to change them, to fix them, to change what happened with them. And by living my truth, by living my own choices aligned with my being, I'm honoring the whole family system, as I am the dream of my ancestors. And my story, my happy story, will make them happy. This is how I honor my family system, my ancestry. Now I want to pay special attention to this movement of permission to receive. Remember, I mentioned sometimes, and especially it's important for the mothers when their father and the mother don't really have a healthy bond. What the mother may say is, yes, he's your father, but subconsciously take from me. For example, we may say he's an alcoholic. And in that statement on its own, there's judgment. That means don't be like him. So imagine if the child is a boy and the child grows up and takes him from the mother as, now I receive the world and the connection is healthy. but now it's time for me to go to the Father. And while the mother may be saying, sure, he's your father, I cannot say no, but, and this but in the subconscious stays with the child. Now, as a boy, I now have a separation inside me. On one end, I love my mom and I love everything she tells me, and I see how in reality, yes, that's what I'm seeing. There was some suffering, there was some abuse, but my subconscious is loyal to the father. So what may happen in my psyche is rebel. If I cannot take from him fully, I will take the worst. And in taking the worst, I will atone for my father. So the thing happens is mom is saying, don't be like him. And I am becoming more and more like him. And the mother's trying more and more to resist that movement. No, it's good for you to be different. But then conditional love of a child is so strong, and we often see it in teenagers rebelling against, right? There's no permission. I need my father, even if it's not there, even if he's dead, even if he left the family. If the father is physically not present, we receive the father through the stories in the family. And if nothing is said, then I have half of me missing. I receive the void, and I look for the ways to fill the void. The ways we usually find in our society are addictions, sickness, escape. We find multiple ways of escaping. Some of the ways, the coping strategy may be get yourself busy. Get yourself busy with the projects, get yourself busy with the work. So we achieve things on the outside. We achieve success. We look great on the outside, but inside we have the void. The void may come from not receiving the mother, or and you can have both, not receiving the father. So the way we experience it, if you're noticing in your life or in the life of your family members, addictions, anxiety, perfectionism, escapism, not being able to focus or commit to a project that is aligned with you, attracting unavailable partners. All of those are the signs and the symptoms of the void inside. And that void can be filled by movement towards the mom, movement towards dad. And we'll talk a little more about what can be done to complete that movement. So I'm gonna move a little bit of who else, right? It's not just mom and dad, we have more in our family. But I want to bring your attention to a common myth of ancestral healing. Sometimes we think that ancestral healing is about receiving what happened with ancestors, and we forget about the parents. It's some kind of spiritual bypassing. We go towards the source, we go towards divine, we find God, and yet we don't have a relationship with our parents. So I want to give you an alert and a warning and share this important part that before we receive more, we start from the core. And the core is first step is receiving the parents. So this is another practice that you can do using the footsteps. You can have the footsteps, the piece of paper for yourself, and then have parents and individual consciousness, ancestors and collective consciousness, the source, divine, God, nature, whatever you have it in your spiritual path, and the spiritual consciousness. When we receive all of that, we have full access to life. We have all the life force that feels supportive to us. Even though we still have difficulties and challenges that are part of life, we feel fully supported in facing them, facing the obstacles of life. When we are tired, we rest. When we are ready to face the world, engage with the world, we have energy to do so, and there are no obstacles on the way. I encourage you to not move straight to receiving ancestors and skipping the parents, and to not move straight to spiritual, divine without receiving the parents. And at the same time, I'm not saying that receiving parents means going closer to the parents. As I mentioned before, sometimes receiving parents require creating distance. When there's a merge happen, remember in the previous picture we talked about merging fields. If I am merged with my mom and I'm looking at the world at whatever age I am through the eyes of my mom, then what needs to happen is separation. And from that distance, we are able to see the parents for what they are, not what I want them to be, and not what I judge them for. So that's another practice you can take home and do it yourself. As well as we do offer that in the groups, ceremonies, and constellations. That practice is very powerful and gives you insight. Here also one more note. As you walking through parents, individual, ancestors, collective, feel into where you are at right now. You may be going to the parents and feel, okay, that's where I'm at. That's what I need to work with. That's where the void is from. You may be feeling very expanded as you move into the field of parents. And maybe your work right now is more with the collective and ancestors. Maybe you go to the parents and you feel the inner permission to move forward. Then you move towards ancestors, receive, ask for permission, receive the permission, move into collective. And from collective, you go into the divine. Ask for the permission to move towards spiritual consciousness. Feel if you receive that permission, and with that permission to move towards spiritual love, spiritual all-encompassing love. Spiritual love means neutrality of life, life as is, that includes death, that includes pain, that includes conflict, and also full of joy. I'm going to check on the chat to make sure I'm answering all the questions. Thank you, Nicola. All right. And one more thing I want to bring up here is when we receive, and we're talking mainly about direct impact there of our ancestors through the parents, when there's any entanglement, and the entanglement means we are representing someone else. I may be entangled with my grandma. From my story, I shared that in my first constellation, I experienced the shadows of the war. My entanglement was with my grandmother, who was married to a guy that the whole family considered an alcoholic. So the anger of her and inability to express that anger in a post-war environment, when she had 5 children and simply could not just give up, she suppressed it within. And the feeling that she received is, men are worthless. So what I carried with me is the same subconscious belief. Men are worthless. That stopped me from being in a healthy, harmonious relationship. I did not receive it from my mom. I received it from generation ahead, but I received it through the mother. So here you see the entanglement mark in this green area. So if entanglement one was from the masculine ancestors, it will come to you through the father. If you're entangled with the feminine ancestors, you will most likely receive it through the mother. That is another reason why we first work with the parents and then move bigger to ancestors. So if ancestral healing is new to you now and you are just stepping into this, you will be working with the parents. The healing statements here may be, I see you. That's one of the strongest healing statements there is. If the entanglement happened, what usually is seen is in the child is a grandparent or grand-grandparent. And they also can be aunts, brothers, uncles, granduncles, and everybody before. We may also represent someone missing, someone unborn, someone murdered. Any abuse that happened in the family before may result in entanglement, especially if that abuse was not acknowledged. All right, and here's one more tool I would like to share with you. This tool is called genogram. It's very close to what we have as a family tree, but unlike family tree, it includes more than just blood relatives. It may include all the karmic connections. For example, if your mom had a previous relationship that played a very important role for her, you may be entangled with that person. In genogram, also collective events may take place, such as war, conflicts, hunger, immigration, murders, abuse that happen. Everything that was in the victim-perpetrator relationship now becomes part of the family system. And the full family system beyond blood relatives is what represented in a genogram. All right, this is our last slide for the content of the webinar. I would like to ask if you have any questions of what's been shared right now. Well, if we don't have any questions, I would like to come to our special thing. As I mentioned, this is theoretical collective knowledge of what's been observed in the field. What I would like to invite you is the workshops when we do step in those energies. The way these two workshops I'm offering for the end of the year is a group constellations, then group practices and ceremonies and experiences. I combine different modalities in those workshops, and they are held in a group space where different people take on representation of your family members or energies, not necessarily people, that will reveal and help you face and work with subconscious dynamics. I'm offering two workshops. One is coming on next week. It's December 1st, Sunday, and it covers including the excluded family members. We'll be working with unborn children and excluded energies in your field. And the one the week after that is focusing specifically on the patterns around money. So it is commonly found that the tensions, the frictions, the contractions in our family are very often reflected in our relationship with abundance. And money is one of the ways we experience abundance in our life. So our workshop on December 8th is about money. Now, I would like to thank you for your time today with me and offer you a special for those workshops. You can see that the price is normally marked at $47 for each workshop. I would like to offer you two for the price of $67. And if you would like to join them within the next 24 hours, I will give you some bonuses. I would like to offer you two guided footstep practices. I talked a little bit about what you can do during the footsteps. I would like to offer you recorded guided footstep practice, and two different experiences that will help you step in and receive the insights that are relevant for your family system. And to help you open up to receiving, I also recorded meditations. So if you would like to sign up for both of the workshops, on top of the value of the workshops, you will receive the guided meditations. And on top of that, since you are here with me today, I thank you very much. And if you sign up among the first 5 people of 5 participants, I will get on the one-on-one call and specifically guide through the family entanglements that happened within your system. All right.